Some weeks ago, I went adventuring. Adventuring in a box full of old CDs, all completely disorganized. Some of them are out of their cases, some of them no longer have cases, likely due to questionable life decisions. And the rest of them never had a proper case in the first place. In the middle of this nostalgia soup, I found this. The
"One of those games I played when I was young"
cliché. Test Drive 6 is, as you've probably guessed, the sixth game in the mainline Test Drive series. It was developed by Pitbull Syndicate and published in 1999 in America by Infogrames, and in 2000 in Europe by Cryo Interactive, although this particular copy came as a freebie in a long-defunct magazine called Megascore. While I never got to play any of the other titles, I remember thinking fondly of this one, so I thought, why not give it a shot? Unfortunately, this game is old, and with old games comes new problems. The game installs fine on my Windows 8.1 toaster, but it refused to run due to a missing DLL that, as far as I know, hasn't been included in Windows for many years. After getting a copy of said file and dropping it in the game's folder, the game did run, but the frame rate was kind of dodgy, and not in a Dodge Viper kind of way. Thankfully, that is easily fixed with the ever magical DG Voodoo wrapper. The only problem that I couldn't fix is the music, which doesn't play because the method used in this game isn't supported by modern operating systems. A shame, because it's really just alright. Not what I'd listen to when doing something else, but it fits the game. With that, the game was finally ready to be played by me, and I was ready to play the game. That was underwhelming, to say the least. It turns out that I was the one who got played. I soon realized that the fond memories in my brain were pointing to a different game called Speedbusters, which unfortunately is a nightmare to get running properly on modern systems. But I'm still convinced that I remember spending a number of fun hours in Test Drive 6. The game starts with a couple of logos and a music video featuring some guy getting turned into a Twilight reject and the song Cars. Not the Gary Newman original, but a cover by the band Fear Factory, which was released as a single in August of 1999, just a couple of months before the American releases of Test Drive 6. Once the shameless advertising ends, you get to create a profile for yourself. Feel free to use whatever name you want, because nobody will judge you. Once you're done with that, you can finally start your career. In the aptly named Practice Mode, you get to test some drivables on a selection of tracks. You can use this to try and get comfortable with the game's unique driving physics, much in the same way you can get comfortable with sleeping on a bed of nails. The meat of the game is in the race menu, where you can pick from 4 different modes. Single race is a single race, in which you bet some credits and win some if you rank in 1st, 2nd or 3rd place. Tournament mode is a series of matches with a big prize for the winner. Cop Chase is the most interesting, letting you play as the police. Your mission is to arrest 5 illegal racers in a few different tracks, and catching all of them unlocks the Stop the Bomber mode, where you need to catch some jerk who keeps dropping bombs in front of you. Finally, there's Challenge mode, which is just a set of 6 time trials. They are surprisingly easy to beat, and you can do so with just your first car. But before you can compete in any of these events, you need to actually own a car to race with. Head over to the garage and you have the option to spend your money on a variety of cars, so let's check them out. What the heck happened to these poor things? Was someone trying to make pancakes with them? There are 4 classes to choose from. Quest 1 has the cheapest and weakest cars, Quest 2 is a step above in both price and performance, Quest 3 is a step above Quest 2, and finally, Quest 4 has cars for people with more money than sense of responsibility. At the start, you only have money for Quest 1 cars, so you're stuck with a steaming pile of scrap for a bit. The cars don't look much better on the road. In fact, they give the impression that there's a wall under them and that they are merely balancing on top of it. Look at the wheels, it's like they're not even touching the ground. I know this is a 1999 game, but Speedbusters was released a whole year before and it looks a good deal better. The environments look alright, but there isn't anything interesting going on in most of them. Cities are cities, streets are streets, repetition is repetition is repetition. If I had to pick favorites, I'd probably choose Hong Kong, or maybe one of the snowy tracks, because we all know that snow levels are always the best. There isn't much going on in the sound department either, just the sound of car engines and wheels. Playing without music really shows just how much it carries the game when the supposedly bustling cities are so quiet. It's illegal racing in the middle of the day, so there should be more stuff going on in the background. When it comes to driving the blobs of deformed metal, it doesn't fare much better. At the best of times, the physics will be like an uncomfortably close friend, while at the worst of times, which is more or less always, it will make you wish you had never been born. Or at least wish that the developers would be forced to sleep on Legos for the rest of their lives. Sometimes the car will do a perfect turn, sometimes it will do a 180 turn even though I barely moved the analog stick. Sometimes crashing into other cars will send them flying while your own remains an indestructible fortress. Sometimes merely touching an inch of another car will send yours flying. Crashing into any other physical object is basically playing Russian roulette. This is especially true in cop chase mode, where the game decides how much of a racer's health you damage based on some fake combination of crashing speed and just being directly in contact with their car. There have been times where I somehow clipped into the car and arrested the guy almost instantly. Most of the time, however, it's a complete crapshoot and this mode just frustrates me to no end. To top off this omelette du garbage is the fact that the sirens start blasting your ears whenever you're close to a racer and the lights end up obstructing your view. I admit, I gave up on trying to unlock Stop the Bomber mode. I thought I could use the cheat codes to unlock it and at least get some footage, but the cheat refuses to work, so I don't even get that small mercy. Of course, AI opponents don't seem to be bothered by how cars handle. It's more like they just glide through the road. On the bright side, self-preservation isn't high on their list of priorities, so they will often crash into all sorts of things, namely civilians and walls. You'll also have the police chasing you and the other racers, and getting caught will make you lose a bit of money. Still, once you get some cash, buy the upgrades and start feeling the Stockholm Syndrome kick in, the game will let you have your fun. Soon you'll be sweeping through the tracks without much trouble, and once you complete all tournaments, you'll be rewarded with a sensation of emptiness since you don't get anything interesting from it. Winning tournaments will unlock a couple of tracks in single race mode, and the remaining tracks and vehicles in practice mode. The entire game can be completed in a few hours and doesn't have anything else to keep your attention. There isn't any sort of multiplayer either, which for a racing game is just sad. For the PC version at least. I've seen references of a two-player mode, but I can't find any mention of it in the game. Looking up videos of the PlayStation version shows that there is supposed to be an option just below race menu, but I guess PC gamers didn't deserve that. In the end, Test Drive 6 is vaguely passable. The driving physics are all kinds of whack, it's not exactly the prettiest thing in existence, and it doesn't do anything to keep the player entertained for long. I like the idea of building up a collection of cars, but the game doesn't let you do much with them besides racing. Honestly, I'd suggest playing something else. Maybe even Test Drive Unlimited 1 or 2? Those look pretty nice. Or maybe the tuning-focused Need for Speed games, which are all cool. Even Carbon.